Okay, so today I'm excited because we're going to talk about all things web design. Do you have a website? And we have an expert with us, Jill Cherry with Cherry Picked Webco. So I'm excited to pick her brain and get all the information from her. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so tell me, what's your background in website design? How did Cherry Picked Webco get started? Who are you?
Yeah. So hi guys. I'm Jill Cherry, owner of Cherry Picked Webco. My background in web design comes from Tristan Schaub's program Twist ECA. Basically my background is my husband is a chiropractor and we have had a practice for about 10 years now. But pre-COVID, we did a lot of in-person marketing and a lot of health talks. And when COVID hit, we really couldn't do that anymore. And so we had to shift, as did the world. And so we figured out, hey, we got to market ourselves online because that's where everyone's living. That's when I met Tristan and was introduced to him. I went through his course. And then I've kind of just used him as my coach and mentor, if you will, to learn this. And so through that process, I really fell in love with the aspect of web design. I've always been creative. And then, having a not great experiences with web design company, being a chiropractor's wife, and on the buyer side, I said, well, why don't I just help chiropractors? And so Cherry Pick was born. Here we are.
Yeah, fantastic. I love that. And I love that you really know chiropractic from the inside out as well. I think that that's just so valuable for doctors to know. Why do chiropractors need a website? I think sometimes people kind of feel like, oh, we used to need websites, but it's not, 2001 anymore. And then others are like, well, that's too new. Like we just do the in-person marketing. So why do you think chiropractors need a great website?
Yeah, so those are great points. I do think that our society does spend a lot of time more so on social media than they do searching the web. However, when they land on your social media, the natural reaction is to, well, let me go to their website. And so your website used to be a brochure where it just held your business hours, the way that someone could contact you and what you do. But how I view it is it could be a place to house all of the things that you do online. So it's kind of one platform for your videos, one platform for images, one platform for fill out and join our community and list build. List building is really important. There's research showing that if you have a list and you follow up with that list at least one time a week for a solid year consistently, you get 60% engagement, which is really, really high engagement, but you have to, again, be consistent. So that's where I feel like, maybe people doubt that it works, but consistency is really hard, right? If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. But I view, your website as a tool to kind of bridge everything together. So yes, it is still important in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. My chiropractor here in town said he had a new patient who complimented him on his website and then said, I wouldn't go to a chiropractor who didn't have a website. And I was like, that's really profound. I think just that she was like, no, I want to see that you are a real business and a real person. And yes, that you present yourself in this warm but professional way. So I think that's really good. So yeah. I know a lot of people ask me about search engine optimization and how do they get to be number one on Google? And that's not my specialty. So I'm always like, well, you need to have a good website. So what all goes into a great searchable website?
Yeah. So again, great question. So I don't consider myself an SEO expert at all because it's ever changing, but I do know that a lot of people misunderstand what that means. Based on just my research and what I have found, there's two types of SEO. So there's on-page SEO and there's off-page SEO. So on-page SEO is going to be in the background of your website and your web designer should be adding that for you. It's typically a 300-word paragraph. Maybe not even that much. It just really depends on your person. But for me, you have, I think it's like 79 characters for a tag, which describes what that page has. And then a meta description, which talks about more detail, the location, the doctor's name, because what's happening is when you put that on the back end of the website, anytime someone goes onto Google or a search engine and they search typical keywords like chiropractor there or their area, it will pull that information from, any website that has that. So, that's on page. Off page is going to be anything, like ads, Google ads, Facebook, Instagram, all of that, and everything that you're doing externally off your website, for off page SEO, which is where you come in.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So what elements do you put into a website to make it more than just that brochure? You mentioned list building. Is that something that you have integrated into the website? Just what all does one of your websites include?
Yeah. So every single website I do has a place where someone can join that particular community. So for chiropractic websites, we say instead of like newsletter, because that's typically pretty boring and not a lot of people resonate with that, we say join our community, learn about promos, learn about events we're having in our office, stuff to make it more intriguing, that someone would want to get involved. Mm-hmm. For other types of businesses, we have a company who sells, I'm in Florida, obviously in a boaters community. And I did a website for, a guy who owns Local Knowledge, and we created his to say, hey, if you sign up, you get a 25% off coupon. And so again, that's a way to build his list. So we just make it different and original per project. And then another way that I suggest is if everyone has a level of knowledge that everyone else wants, right? So if you could somehow, Canva is a great resource that makes you look super professional, makes you look like you're a graphic design artist. Go on there. They have free templates of, basically like a informational handout, and you just put your information on there. You download it. We add it to your website as a click here to download my top 10, recommendations for stretching, or the 10 things you wish you knew about your back health, or something that's intriguing. I was talking to a guy yesterday actually, and one of his topics is how to avoid the chiropractor, but he is a chiropractor.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, right? So just kind of getting creative with it.
Yeah. So then you would manage all of the things, because I know some of us have looked into the bits and pieces. I think chiropractors are great entrepreneurs who often, have been like, okay, yes, I've written this little ebook, this handout, but then in your website, do you include like, the emails that would be sent, or is it linked to their MailChimp, their other email providers and things?
Yeah. So it'd be something that would be linked. My expertise is solely web design. When it comes to the follow up of those leads, that's all on.
You just get it all linked so that it all works correctly, which is huge.
Yeah.
I don't know how much, it's like I have done great content. It goes nowhere because this link is broken. This plugin has stopped. The number of times that it's like, okay, I think I can fix your website. We're going to delete all of the plugins and then reinstall them all. And that's the advice that I've gotten from my own WordPress. And it's like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
That's so scary and then it's like, oh, I don't know. I don't really know how to log into my website. So, tell me just why, we've talked about that you do custom sites versus cookie cutter sites. So tell us about why that custom site is better than being like, we're going to build a little Wix site, or we're going to, cobble together our own WordPress.
Yeah. So fun fact, actually don't build on WordPress or Wix. I have my own company, that would be similar to that drag and drop style website builder. So if someone wanted to work with me, but not pay for that custom site, they could still go onto my website and build their own website using templates that are there. Or they could start from scratch too. And that's the reason I don't use WordPress or Wix, is because as I manage more and more, currently I've been in business almost a year. I'm up to 80, almost 90 clients underneath management. I feel like that's extremely explosive. I feel very blessed, but I don't want to go back through 90 websites to update widgets. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Also, if you hear screaming in the background, it is summer. My son is home, so I apologize. But, so I didn't want to do that. I wanted something that was going to work and work long term and only have to update a website when a client requests it. You know what I mean? So with that being said, back to your question of the custom versus cookie cutter, you could line up 10 different chiropractors and ask them about chiropractic, and you would get 10 different answers, because I feel like chiropractic is the one profession where it's all personal to that doctor and how they learned chiropractic in school, or the seminars that they've been to, or if they're Webster certified versus if they're not. Like it's so vastly different. You can have someone who specializes in athletes and someone who specializes in pediatrics or geriatrics. I mean, it's all over the board. And so I feel like when you have a cookie cutter website, you can't have a cookie cutter website that speaks volumes and niches on those specific things. So custom really is going to capture, first of all, that doctor's ideal client, right? That's super important. We want to make sure we're using colors and language and images that capture who you want to see, first of all. And so that's a big, big reason I definitely promote custom over cookie cutter, is because why wouldn't you want to see your ideal client every day and the most? And so that's what we really try to do, in our practice and my website business. And in my practice, I do want to capture that ideal client for someone.
Perfect. Yeah, I love that. So with that is, how often are you updating websites? Is like blogging something that you recommend, that you add? How does that work?
I do recommend blogging. Going back to SEO, it's one of the ways to increase SEO, is the more context you have on your page. So I've heard also recently, it's like, oh, well, you could have a one-page website, which yes, it serves a purpose if you're naturally searched by your community. But if you're not, you're missing that context that's needed in order to be searchable. So yes, I do recommend a blog. In the beginning of my business, I was obviously hungry for business and for growing. And so I would blog for people. Now I am blessed enough that I am building and building only.
Yeah.
And so I recommend anyone who wants to blog but doesn't have the time. I have an amazing copywriter. Her name is Megan. She will do projects for you like that. And so, yeah, so I just find myself building relationships with people like you and Megan and Erica, who are in my community and in my circle, where I know, like, and trust you guys, and refer, services I feel like everyone should have, but I don't have the time to personally do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I feel like we almost need a new word for blogging, because a lot of people do relate it to, like, when we were 20 years old and everybody had their little, lifestyle blog to talk about things they were doing. And it's like, no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about like those keyword rich, informational, educational articles where somebody is going to say, ear infections is the example I use the most, where I say, you talk about ear infections so often in your office, and it would be great to say, you know what, actually, for your sister, for your nephew who's struggling with ear infections, ask, Julie at the front desk, and she'll give you a link to my article that I wrote, and you can just send that to your sister. And then all of a sudden, their sister is on their beautiful website going, wow, this looks amazing. And that was really great. That was a really great blog post. And then, like you said, anybody who's searching like ear infections, like, how do I maybe take a more natural approach to this particular problem? And there it is on their website. And then it's such a great functional website. They want to look around more and see, like, oh, videos, oh, testimonials, like, who is this doctor and what do they do? So I love it that I think that's such a vital service that you provide, to be that, first encounter that people get with, great doctors and great businesses. So tell me about the investment in a great custom site, because I think sometimes we kind of, in our minds, use that as an obstacle. But when we think about like the lifetime value of a website, it's so worth it. So tell me about the investment in working with you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So my investment ranges from $1,500, and the top pricing is $56.97. That is a vast difference. But again, since we talk about chiropractic and chiropractic is my niche, it really truly is based on the project. So if I have a store that has 100 pages, that is going to cost way more than a chiropractor coming to me who wants to write a website on pregnancy and that's it. I got into this business because, again, my husband and I, being chiropractors first, spent tens of thousands of dollars on websites we, number one, did not like. Number two, we could never get a hold of our provider. And number three, we could never update anything. It was very frustrating, just in general, never knew where anything was. And I didn't like that, because I feel like anyone who is a business owner does like to have control of what's happening, right? And so, the two building blocks I live by day to day is transparency and communication. I'm always over communicating. I'm always very transparent. And so with that, I'm not going to lie, I forgot the original question. But the investment.
Yeah.
Yes,
and your different projects.
Yes. So, my investment is in that range. I previously said I do offer monthly payments if someone cannot come out of pocket with that in full. I do know most companies we have worked with require it to be paid in full. But with the times that we're living in and just wanting to be a resource for people to use, and I genuinely want to help people in this space, to me, it's worth it to, take that risk and just allow people to make those monthly payments. And then also, I don't do contracts, which is very different for a lot of people in my space. I just feel like it's my responsibility to keep that person happy, and I have to work, right, to keep them happy and to keep doing things that are going to continue to want them to want to stay. And so that's a big difference between working with me, versus another company as well.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And, with that, I think I sometimes have brought back investment in, advertising and marketing back to what's the cost, what's the value of one chiropractic patient lifelong. And when I've looked it up in different spaces, it's between $1,000 and $3,000 currently. Inflation, it might have changed. But if you come to that, then it's like if your website brings you 2 new patients, and it's like, okay, in a year, could a website possibly bring you 2 new patients? And I think that any of us would say, well, yes, clearly, that should be easy. So
clients report back to me on average, they get 4 to 5 a week.
Yeah.
But I don't advertise that because I don't like advertising things I cannot guarantee. But the average I have been reported back to from my current clients is they at least get 4 interactions from their website of someone wanting to book an appointment. And they say that the lead quality is higher as well, versus like running an ad and you get someone who, hops onto your website, fills out the form, but you never hear from them, versus someone who hops on your website, fills out the form and is eager to come in. So I think it's definitely quality versus quantity in this case, especially on marketing.
It is definitely more content marketing when they have, read through the page and then filled out the form, when they've looked at, meet the doctor. Who is this doctor? What are they about? What is Webster technique? Okay, yes, I would like to be adjusted by this doctor. Definitely a higher value. And yes, even if it was not 4 or 5 a week. And I think that too, when people ask me, how long is this going to take? What's the return on investment? I'm like, I had a chiropractor who told me, it is very similar to chiropractic, where it's like, I will do my part. I will do my job and I will do it to the best of my ability. I will continue to be growing and learning how I can make a better website, how I can write a better social media post. And then it is out of my hands. I can't guarantee, but if we look at, even if they had 4 or 5 contacts per month, how quickly would that website pay for itself? Very, very quickly. It is, right. It is one of those things that I think is, now a basis of business. And now this makes me want to go back to my website and be like, you look a little bit like, I love your Goodwill outfit, but maybe we could buy you some new clothes website.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where we're at, and I think that it's great when people have like you said, you've had the experience of having websites that weren't really quite working for you, that you didn't like. And that availability is so vital for us to be able to, like, oh, I just need to send Jill an email and she'll take care of it for me. I think you said too before that you provide access for, like, if they have a team member or things. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so depending on the package someone would pick is dependent upon how many members they have as admins on their website. Most doctors, I've only had one who's requested two, but most doctors have one point person, and that point person gets their own login information. So all of the doctor's information and mine is kept private. So they would have their own login, just like when you log into Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And they log in. I can select the access they have. So if it's just wanting to make updates, I can lock all of the other features on the back end of the website, and they would just have access to the page builder. If it was something where he wanted them or she wanted them to follow up with the contact list, I could just unlock the contact list to keep everything else protected, like financial information, private other information, etc. So yes, we do work with doctors' offices to give their team administrative access. But that doesn't mean I disappear either. That's just kind of like an added bonus.
That's so good, because I know so many times, like one of my clients will say, I know that it says, our hours are open on this time on Tuesday, but we're trying to get that changed. And it's like, that should be so easy for you to just log into your website and be like 2 to 6. There we go. It's done. Instead of having it be on your to-do list. And we've all got that to-do list of, I've got to call dental insurance and I need to change the time on my website, and, and having it be a whole process instead of just being an easy access. I just email Jill. I just log in. I just get it taken care of. It's all okay. So that's really helpful too. Well, is there anything else that you feel like doctors really need to know about website design as we wrap it up?
One tip in regards to blogging.
Yes.
So if someone is struggling to come up with content, because this is the question I get the most. Firstly, you can go to my website, cherrypickedwebco.com/freebies. And on there is 154 content ideas to write about. So that's cool. But then secondly, there's a website called answerthepublic.com, and you can go on there and type in whatever search term. So chiropractic would be a popular one, or chiropractor, and it gives you 80 questions that people commonly Google. And then you can pick any question and write about it. And that keeps your content relevant, because that's also important too. If everyone's talking about, what's something that everyone's talking about? Something political or whatever.
Oh yeah. Political.
You obviously don't want to go there unless you're prepared for the kickback on both sides you'll get, right? So if you want to stay Switzerland and stay neutral and write about things that are still relevant outside of that, that's a great resource.
Perfect. I love those. And yes, I love that you brought up your freebies. I will link your website and where people can find you. Where are you most active? Where is the best place for people to really connect with you?
Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. I'm trying to get into TikTok. I'm a little old. So I'm trying.
Yeah. It's a different world down there.
I also personally don't like doing dances, but yeah, I'll maybe get there one day.
Yeah, I'm sure you will find something that really is you and that connects with people too. Cause I think that's the biggest thing, is when we're like, oh, I can show up and really be me in this space, but also fitting with what people are enjoying. So it's a whole dance in itself.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for your time. And everybody, if you have any other questions, if you are ready for a custom site, please go see Jill and she'll take great care of you.
Thanks, guys.